King Charles III has been diagnosed with cancer. Buckingham Palace just confirming the news in a statement, but not saying which type of cancer.
Something serious is happening behind the palace doors. Queen Camilla has shared news that no one saw coming. She has been diagnosed with a dangerous illness. For years, she has been by King Charles's side, always strong, always smiling. But now she faces a health battle that could change everything. People close to the royal family are worried. Whispers are spreading. What does this mean for her? What does this mean for the royal family? Questions are everywhere, but answers are few. Now, the truth is coming out, and it's more shocking than anyone expected. Queen Camilla's deadly diagnosis. Now, let's talk about the heartbreaking reason Queen Camilla is making headlines all around the world. This news has shocked not only the UK, but also millions of royal fans across the globe. No one expected this, and honestly, it's hard to even believe. Queen Camilla has shared that she has been diagnosed with multiple myeloma, a rare and deadly type of blood cancer. It's the kind of disease most people don't know much about until someone close to them is affected. Sadly, that someone, in this case, is Queen Camilla herself. It is believed that Camilla first started feeling unwell a few months ago. She had been experiencing constant back pain, unusual tiredness, and even weight loss. At first, she thought maybe it was just stress or age catching up. After all, being part of the royal family comes with a lot of pressure, and she's been attending countless royal events. But things didn't get better. In fact, they got worse. She found it hard to stand for long hours during events. Even smiling and waving seemed tiring. That's when the doctors ran some tests. After weeks of checkups and endless hospital visits, the royal doctors finally gave her the heartbreaking news. She had multiple myeloma. Camilla chose to share this news with the world in the most graceful way. Instead of hiding it, she sat down for an emotional interview with a royal reporter. With a trembling voice, but with her usual calmness, she shared her diagnosis. She wanted people to hear it from her, not from rumors. She also released an official statement through Buckingham Palace, where she thanked everyone for their love and support. Camilla admitted in the interview that hearing the words, "You have cancer," changed her world forever. She said she felt like the ground had been pulled from under her feet. But she also shared that she is determined to fight this battle with all her strength. Understanding multiple myeloma. The silent killer. Many people might not know what multiple myeloma is. It is a type of blood cancer that affects the plasma cells found in our bone marrow. These cells are supposed to help us fight infections. But when they turn cancerous, they start damaging the body from the inside. The symptoms can be really hard to notice at first. They include tiredness, back pain, frequent infections, and weak bones. Most people, just like Camilla, think it's normal aging or stress. But sadly, this disease keeps growing silently inside the body until it's too late. Multiple myeloma is very dangerous because it doesn't just attack one part of the body. It spreads and affects the bones, kidneys, and even the immune system. That's why doctors call it a deadly disease. The survival rates depend on how early the cancer is caught. Some people live for several years with treatment, while others may have a much shorter time. Sadly, there is no permanent cure for multiple myeloma yet. The treatments available, like chemotherapy, radiation, and stem cell transplants, only help to slow it down. Doctors say that this cancer is more common in people above the age of 65, which makes Camilla's case even more worrying. Many women her age don't even realize they have it until it becomes very serious. Experts from across the world have already started reacting to Camilla's diagnosis, calling it a brave step for her to share this news publicly. They hope it will raise awareness about this deadly disease and help others catch it early. The impact on Queen Camilla's royal duties. Now, as you can imagine, this diagnosis has not just affected Camilla's health, but also her role as the queen consort. Being a senior royal is not easy. There are hundreds of public appearances, charity events, and royal tours every year. It's a full-time job that demands both physical and emotional strength. Sources close to the palace have said that Camilla is already stepping back from many of her royal duties. She has canceled several public appearances, and palace insiders say this is just the beginning. Doctors have advised her to rest and focus on her treatment, which will involve chemotherapy and other aggressive treatments. King Charles is said to be absolutely heartbroken by the news. He has been by Camilla's side every step of the way. In fact, royal insiders say that the king is even considering cutting back on his own royal duties so he can spend more time with Camilla during this tough time. What's even more worrying is that this comes at a time when King Charles himself is battling his own health issues. As many of you already know, Charles was recently diagnosed with cancer too, though the palace hasn't shared what kind. This means that both the king and queen are now fighting serious health battles at the same time. Prince William and Kate Middleton are also said to be deeply worried. With both Charles and Camilla unwell, a lot of the royal responsibilities may now fall on William and Kate's shoulders. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, though estranged from the royal family, have reportedly reached out privately to express their concern and support. There is growing speculation about what this means for the future of the monarchy. Will Charles and Camilla step back fully? Will Prince William need to step up sooner than expected? These are questions many people are asking right now. Camilla's personal message, a woman of strength and grace. In the middle of all this, Queen Camilla has shown incredible courage. In her interview, she spoke openly about her feelings and her plans for the future. She thanked everyone who had sent her letters, prayers, and good wishes. She also shared a very emotional message that touched many hearts. She said, "I have always believed in facing life's challenges with courage and grace. This is not an easy journey, but I know I am not alone. I have the love of my family, my husband, and the people of this country. For that, I am truly grateful." Camilla also made it clear that while she is going through treatment, she wants to spend more time with her children and grandchildren. She wants to focus on what truly matters: family, love, and making every moment count. At the same time, she said she will continue supporting the causes she deeply cares about, like women's health, domestic violence charities, and reading programs. But of course, everything will now depend on how she feels and what her doctors advise. She ended her message with a small but powerful request. She asked people to get regular checkups and never ignore the signs their bodies give them. She hopes her story will encourage others to take their health seriously. What this means for the future of the monarchy. Camilla's diagnosis has left many people wondering what the future holds for the British monarchy. With both the king and queen battling cancer, this is truly an uncertain time for the royal family. For centuries, the royal family has symbolized strength and stability. But now, the future feels shaky. There are talks in royal circles about the possibility of a regency, where Prince William might have to step in to perform the duties of the king if Charles becomes too unwell. This is not something that would happen overnight, but the fact that people are even talking about it shows just how serious the situation is. Some experts say that the royal family might never be the same after this. At the same time, many people feel a new sense of connection to the royal family. They see Camilla and Charles not just as royals, but as human beings, parents, grandparents, husband, and wife, facing the same fears and struggles as any other family. Public sentiment right now is mixed. Some people are sending endless love and prayers to Camilla. Others are quietly questioning what this means for the monarchy's future. Will people continue to support the royal family if their two most senior members are no longer able to lead? One thing is clear: the coming months will be crucial. The royal family will need to make some very difficult decisions. But for now, the most important thing is Camilla's health and well-being. Queen Camilla's diagnosis has left many in shock, and the future remains uncertain. As the royal family faces this difficult time, all eyes are on what happens next.
This particular phase in my life is the most dangerous. Someone, the name blacked out, is planning an accident in my car.
Something has come to light that no one ever saw coming. A note, written by Princess Diana herself, has been found in FBI files, hidden away for years. And what it says is truly shocking. For decades, people have wondered about her tragic death. There have been rumors, theories, and questions with no clear answers. But this note? It changes everything. It reveals fears she had, warnings she gave, things that now seem impossible to ignore. Why was it kept secret for so long? Who wanted it hidden? And most importantly, what does this mean for everything we thought we knew? What does the note say? Princess Diana's story has always been full of mystery, but this new discovery takes things to another level. A note, handwritten by Diana herself, has been found in secret FBI documents. But what exactly does it say? At first glance, the letter is shocking. It talks about her deep emotional struggles and hints at something even more unsettling. Some believe it is a suicide note. Others think it might be something else entirely. But before we jump to conclusions, we need to break it down carefully. Did Diana express suicidal thoughts? This is the biggest question. Did Princess Diana really want to take her own life? The note reportedly describes feelings of isolation, fear, and deep sadness. It talks about how she felt like she had no control over her own life. It even suggests that she was overwhelmed to the point where she didn't know how much longer she could keep going. But here's the twist. The wording of the note is not clear-cut. Some experts say it sounds like a cry for help rather than a final goodbye. It's the kind of letter someone writes when they feel trapped, not necessarily when they are ready to give up. Diana had spoken about feeling alone before. She had opened up about her struggles with depression, bulimia, and anxiety. She once said that she felt like a prisoner inside the royal family. So, was this note just another moment where she was expressing her pain? Or was it something more serious? This is where things get complicated. When and where was this note written? The timing of this letter is very important. If Diana wrote it during her divorce from Prince Charles, it would make sense why she was feeling so low. That was one of the hardest times in her life. She was dealing with constant media attention, betrayal, and public humiliation. Imagine this. One day, you're the most loved woman in the world, and the next, you're being pushed out of the royal family. That's exactly what happened to Diana. She had given everything to her marriage. But Charles had been in love with Camilla Parker Bowles the whole time. When the truth finally came out, Diana was devastated. She was also losing her title, her home, and even her sense of security. The royal family was cutting her off, and the press was making things worse. Could this note have been written in the middle of all that? Or was it written even later, when she had finally found love with Dodi Fayed? That changes everything. If she had written it while she was happy, then why would she be thinking about ending her life? The FBI hasn't revealed the exact date of the note yet, and that's what makes this so frustrating. The timeline could tell us whether Diana was truly suicidal, or if this was just a moment of overwhelming stress. Was the handwriting authentic? Now, here's where things get even more suspicious. How do we even know this note is real? Experts have analyzed the handwriting, and from the first look, it does seem to match Diana's usual style. But there are also some strange differences. Some letters don't look quite right. The spacing feels off in certain parts. Now, we have to ask, could someone have forged this letter? If the letter was truly written by Diana, then it is a painful reminder of her struggles. But if it was fake, who would want to create a fake suicide note? And more importantly, why? We have seen cases before where documents related to Diana have been altered. Remember the infamous BBC Panorama interview? It was later revealed that Diana was tricked into giving that interview through fake documents. If people were willing to lie to Diana back then, who's to say they wouldn't lie about this note now? Some theorists believe this letter conveniently appeared to change the way people see Diana's death. If people believe she was suicidal, it takes attention away from the theory that she was murdered. Could this be part of a larger cover-up? How does this compare to Diana's "they are planning my accident" letter? This is where things get really eerie. In 1995, Diana wrote another famous letter to her butler, Paul Burrell. In it, she said something shocking. "My husband is planning an accident in my car, brake failure and serious head injury." This letter became one of the biggest pieces of evidence for people who believe Diana was assassinated. She had predicted that something would happen to her in a car crash, 2 years before she actually died in a car crash. Now, let's compare the two notes. The 1995 letter clearly shows that Diana believed someone was out to get her. She wasn't suicidal. She was scared. She thought people were plotting against her. The newly found letter seems to suggest the opposite, that Diana was feeling hopeless and might have wanted to harm herself. Do you see how these two letters completely contradict each other? One letter says Diana was fighting for her life because people were targeting her. The other suggests she had given up and was thinking of ending things herself. Which one are we supposed to believe? If Diana had truly been planning to take her own life, then why would she have written that first letter warning about a staged accident? You don't write a note predicting your own murder if you actually plan to harm yourself later. This is why many people don't trust this newly found letter. Some believe it was planted to make Diana's death look less suspicious. After all, if people think she was already struggling, then her tragic end wouldn't seem so strange. It's a way of silencing the murder theories without actually proving anything. But if Diana did write both letters, then this is even more heartbreaking. It would mean she lived in a constant state of fear, sadness, and paranoia, believing that both the world and her own mind were working against her. So, what is the truth? That's the hardest part. We don't know yet. What we do know is that Diana's life was never simple. She was either the most loved woman in the world or the most hunted. She had moments of deep pain, but she also had moments of hope. If this letter is real, then it shows just how much she was struggling. But if it's fake, then someone is still trying to control her story, years after her death. One thing is certain, the mystery of Princess Diana is far from over. Was Diana being watched? First, we need to talk about something that not many people know. Princess Diana was being watched, and not just by the British government, but also by the US intelligence agencies. Now, you might be thinking, why would the FBI or the CIA care about Diana? She wasn't a politician. She wasn't a world leader. She wasn't involved in government affairs. She was a princess who spent her time helping charities and taking care of her two sons. But here's the thing, Diana was powerful. Not in a political way, but in a way that scared powerful people. She had the ability to change public opinion overnight. She could speak about a cause, and suddenly the whole world would care. She spoke about things that many people in power didn't want to be talked about. Things like landmines, AIDS awareness, and even corruption. There's one more thing. At the time of her death, Diana was dating Dodi Fayed, an Egyptian billionaire. There were rumors, big, loud rumors, that they were about to get married. Some even believed she was pregnant with his child. Now, let's be real. The British royal family did not like this relationship. Imagine the future King of England, Prince William, having a Muslim stepfather and possibly even a half-sibling who was part Arab. For the monarchy, which had a long history of keeping things traditional, this was a huge deal. So, Diana wasn't just a princess. She was someone who could change history. And that's why she was watched. The US government's secret involvement now, this is where things get even stranger. The FBI has never openly admitted to watching Diana, but the CIA? Well, they slipped up. In 1999, 2 years after her death, the CIA confirmed that they had over 1,000 pages of files on Diana. Yes, you heard that right, 1,000 pages. And guess what? They refused to release most of them. The official reason? National security. Wait, what? National security? Why would a British princess's personal life be a national security issue for the United States? That's the big mystery. Some believe that Diana's campaign against landmines put her on the radar of military groups. Others think that her relationship with Dodi Fayed was what made her a target. And some even go as far as saying that certain governments didn't want her around anymore. But here's where things get even creepier. Among the few documents that were released, there were reports that Diana believed she was being spied on. She had even told her friends that she felt her phone was tapped. And now, years later, we find out that the FBI had a note that she wrote? That's not a coincidence. How was this note discovered? Now let's get to the big part. How was this note even found? Well, it wasn't found in some old storage box. It wasn't lying in a pile of forgotten papers. It was hidden in classified files. The note was part of a batch of secret FBI documents that were only released because of a Freedom of Information Act request. This means that someone had to fight to get these documents unsealed. They weren't just randomly given to the public. For decades, nobody knew this note even existed. It was tucked away, buried in files that nobody had access to. Which makes you wonder, Was this information intentionally kept from the public? And if so, why? Was this note suppressed? Now, here's where things get really weird. If this note was so important, why was it hidden for so long? There are only two possible reasons. One, it was just forgotten. It got buried in the middle of thousands of other classified documents, and nobody thought it was important enough to release. But let's be honest. Does that sound likely? This is Princess Diana we're talking about. Every little detail about her life has been analyzed and discussed for years. If there was a note like this, it would have been found much earlier. Which brings us to the second reason, and this one is more disturbing. The note was suppressed on purpose. Think about it. If this note had been released years ago, what would have happened? If it contained anything that supported the theory that Diana was being watched, manipulated, or even threatened, then suddenly, all the conspiracy theories wouldn't seem so crazy anymore. If it suggested that she was struggling mentally in a way that was never made public, then people would start questioning everything about the official story of her death. The bottom line is this: someone didn't want this note to come out, and now that it has, it raises more questions than it answers. So, what does this note really mean? Does it prove Diana was struggling so much that she wanted to take her own life? Or does it make the mystery of her death even deeper? Let's be honest. Since the day Princess Diana died, people have had their doubts. The official story says she was in a car accident while trying to escape the paparazzi. But for years, many believed that it wasn't an accident at all. People said she was murdered. Some believed the royal family was behind it. Others thought powerful forces wanted her gone. But now, with this note coming to light, things have taken an unexpected turn. If Diana really wrote a letter hinting at suicide, does that mean all those theories were wrong? Could it be that she was truly in emotional pain and no one listened? Or, and this is a big or, was this note planted? Was it written under pressure? Was someone trying to build a case even before she died? Does this note challenge the assassination theory? For years, Diana herself believed she was being watched. She once told her butler, Paul Burrell, that she feared for her life. She even wrote a letter predicting that she would die in a car crash. That letter is real. It's been public knowledge for a long time. In it, she said that someone was planning to tamper with her car's brakes. Now, if someone was planning to harm her, why would she also write a note about suicide? These two things don't really match, do they? If this note is real, then some people will say, see? Maybe she wasn't murdered. Maybe she was just deeply sad, and the accident was truly an accident. But is it really that simple? The people who believe she was killed still have questions. They ask, if this note existed all along, why are we only hearing about it now? Why did the FBI have it? And why would a woman who was full of life, a woman who had just started a new relationship, suddenly write a note about ending it all? It just doesn't sit right. If Diana was truly in danger, it's possible that this note was a distraction, a way to make sure that if something happened to her, people wouldn't suspect foul play. And that makes you wonder, was this note really written by Diana? Or does this prove she was under psychological pressure? Let's consider something else. What if this note doesn't mean she planned to harm herself, but instead, it shows the emotional pain she was in? Diana had been through a lot. Her marriage to Prince Charles was a disaster. She felt alone in the royal family. She battled bulimia, depression, and an overwhelming amount of media pressure. Every single thing she did was watched. Every mistake was put on the front page of a newspaper. Every emotion was judged. Imagine being in that position. Imagine feeling like you have no escape. Now add to that the fact that Diana was speaking out. She had done that famous interview with the BBC where she said, "There were 3 of us in this marriage." She was open about her struggles. She was trying to break free from the royal family's control. And we all know how dangerous it can be when powerful people don't want the truth to come out. Could it be that Diana was being pushed into a mental state where she felt completely helpless? Could she have written this note during one of her lowest moments, not because she actually wanted to end her life, but because she felt like she had no one to turn to? Or, and this is where it gets really dark, was someone making sure she felt that way? Was she being harassed or manipulated into despair? This is something we need to think about. We already know that Diana felt like she was being watched. She had told people that her phones were bugged. She felt like she was being followed. And here's the thing, she wasn't wrong. There have been reports that intelligence agencies were keeping tabs on her. MI6, the British intelligence service, was known to have files on Diana. The FBI had documents on her. The CIA had some records too. The big question is, why? Why were all these intelligence agencies watching a woman who was no longer even a part of the royal family? Some believe it was because of her relationship with Dodi Fayed. He was the son of a billionaire, a man with powerful international connections. There were rumors that Diana and Dodi were going to get married. Some even speculated that she was pregnant. Now, if that was true, it could have caused major problems for the royal family. Think about it. A future king's mother married to a man from a different religious and cultural background? It might not sound like a big deal now, but back then, to the people in power, it could have been. So, was Diana being pushed into a state of despair? Was she being watched so closely that she felt like she had nowhere to go? If someone wanted her out of the picture, could psychological pressure have been part of the plan? And that brings us to the biggest question of all. Did she actually write this note? Or was it written for her? Could this note have been written under duress? This is where things get even murkier. Let's say for a moment that Diana did write this note. But let's also consider that she may not have done it freely. Imagine a scenario where someone close to her convinced her to write it. Maybe they told her, "Write down how you're feeling. It'll help." Maybe they said, "If something happens, people should know you were struggling." But what if that person wasn't looking out for her? What if this note was meant to be used later? And here's something else. What if she didn't write it at all? Handwriting analysis can tell us a lot, but let's be real. Forensics can be manipulated. If someone wanted a document that made Diana's death look like a result of her own struggles, it wouldn't be impossible to create one. That might sound extreme, but we've seen cover-ups before. Powerful people protect their own. If there was something bigger going on, a simple note could help rewrite the narrative. Which brings us to the next big player in this story. The role of the British monarchy and intelligence agencies. If Diana's note was written willingly, it shows her mental state. If it wasn't, it opens up an entirely different conversation. Either way, this note being in the FBI's possession means one thing. Princess Diana was under surveillance. The British monarchy has always denied involvement in Diana's death. They say the crash was a tragic accident. But if Diana really was being watched, we have to ask, were they worried about what she might do next? Did they fear that she was going to expose something? Did they see her as a threat? MI6 has been accused of having a role in her death before. Some former intelligence officers have even claimed that Diana's car crash was no accident. If there was ever a moment to shift the blame away, wouldn't a suicide note be the perfect tool? This note doesn't just change the story, it raises 100 more questions. Was Diana being watched to keep her safe, or to keep her quiet? If she really wrote this note, was it a desperate cry for help? Or was she being pushed into thinking she had no other way out? And most importantly, if this note had never been revealed, would we have ever known about it at all? What do you think? Does this note change your opinion on what really happened to her? Or do you believe there's still something we're not being told? Let me know in the comments. I want to hear your thoughts. And if you found this video interesting, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We'll keep following the truth, no matter where it leads. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.
We're going to turn now to the future Queen consort, Camilla. She's given a rare interview about her life with Prince Charles and how she has learned to cope with criticism.
Queen Camilla wasn't always married to King Charles. Before she became part of the royal family, she was married to a man named Andrew Parker Bowles. At first, their marriage seemed happy, but something happened that changed everything. It wasn't a small problem. It was something so big that Andrew decided to leave her for good. One day, a secret came out. A truth that couldn't be ignored. And when Andrew found out, he didn't hesitate. He made a decision that would change not only their lives, but also the future of the royal family. What really happened between them? Why did he leave so suddenly? The answer might not be what people expect. Camilla and Andrew's relationship history. Camilla and Andrew Parker Bowles had what seemed like a picture-perfect love story. They were both well-connected, belonged to the same elite social circles, and had a relationship that lasted for years before they finally tied the knot. But despite their grand wedding and long marriage, their relationship was far from perfect. The shocking part? The reason Andrew Parker Bowles divorced Camilla wasn't just another failing marriage. It was something much bigger. To understand why he left her after 21 years, we need to go back to the very beginning. Camilla Shand met Andrew Parker Bowles in the 1960s when they were both young, attractive, and part of Britain's high society. Camilla, the daughter of a wealthy British Army officer, was well known for her charm and wit. She was the kind of person who could walk into a room and instantly win people over. She wasn't a traditional beauty, but she had a confidence and energy that made her irresistible. Andrew Parker Bowles was the perfect match for someone like Camilla. At least on paper. He was a dashing British Army officer with an impressive career ahead of him. He was well-liked, confident, and extremely well-connected. In fact, he was so well-connected that he had previously dated Princess Anne, Prince Charles's sister. Camilla and Andrew's relationship was intense but complicated. They were on and off for years. Sometimes they were together, sometimes they weren't. Andrew, known for being a ladies' man, was frequently unfaithful. But despite his wandering eye, Camilla always seemed to forgive him. Eventually, after years of uncertainty, they got engaged. In 1973, they had a grand wedding, attended by many members of high society, including the royal family. On the surface, it looked like a perfect love story. Camilla had finally settled down with a respectable man, and their marriage was expected to last forever. But behind the scenes, things were very different. Camilla was still in love with someone else, someone who was about to change the course of her life forever. Camilla's ties to Prince Charles. While Camilla was in an on-again, off-again relationship with Andrew Parker Bowles, she had also formed a deep connection with Prince Charles. They first met in 1970 at a polo match, and from the moment they started talking, there was an undeniable spark between them. Prince Charles, the heir to the British throne, was immediately drawn to Camilla. Unlike many of the women in his social circle, she was confident, funny, and down to earth. She wasn't intimidated by him, and she treated him like a normal person rather than the future King of England. They quickly became close, and it didn't take long for them to fall in love. But there was one big problem. Camilla was not considered suitable to marry the future king. At the time, the royal family expected Charles to marry someone young, pure, and with no romantic history. Camilla, who had already dated other men, didn't fit that image. Heartbroken, Charles eventually had to move on, and so did Camilla. She married Andrew Parker Bowles in 1973, and Charles continued his royal duties. But Charles never truly got over Camilla. Even after marrying Lady Diana Spencer in 1981, his feelings for Camilla remained strong. Diana, who was young and inexperienced when she married Charles, quickly realized that she was competing with another woman for her husband's love. In one of her most famous interviews, Diana painfully admitted, "There were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded."
Well, there were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded.
Meanwhile, Camilla's marriage to Andrew Parker Bowles was not a happy one either. Andrew continued to have affairs, and over time, Camilla began to grow closer to Charles again. What started as an old friendship soon turned into something more, something that would eventually shake the British monarchy to its core. The turning point: why Andrew Parker Bowles divorced Camilla. By the 1980s, it was no secret among their inner circles that both Camilla and Andrew were having affairs. Their marriage had become more of a formality than a true partnership. However, despite their failing relationship, they remained married for years. Then came the event that changed everything. In 1993, a private phone call between Prince Charles and Camilla was leaked to the public. This phone call, later known as the Camillagate scandal, revealed intimate details about their relationship. The conversation, which had been recorded in 1989, was deeply personal and embarrassing. It confirmed what many had suspected for years. Camilla and Charles had been having an affair all along. The scandal sent shockwaves through Britain. People were furious. Camilla became the most hated woman in the country. The media had a field day, portraying her as the woman who destroyed Diana's marriage. Newspapers called her a homewrecker, and TV shows mocked her. For Andrew Parker Bowles, this was beyond humiliating. While he had tolerated Camilla's relationship with Charles for years, having their affair exposed so publicly was unbearable. He was a respected military man, and this scandal made him look like a fool. Unable to ignore the public embarrassment, Andrew Parker Bowles finally decided to end the marriage. In 1994, after 21 years together, they officially divorced. Aftermath: Camilla's life. Post-divorce. Camilla's divorce was not the end of her troubles. If anything, things got even worse for her. The media scrutiny was relentless. She was followed everywhere, criticized in newspapers, and booed by the public. At first, Camilla tried to stay out of the spotlight. She avoided public appearances and rarely spoke to the press. But despite the negative attention, her relationship with Prince Charles continued. They were still deeply in love, but they had to be careful about how they moved forward. In 1996, Charles and Diana officially divorced. A year later, in 1997, tragedy struck. Princess Diana died in a car accident in Paris. The world mourned Diana's death, and once again, Camilla became the villain in the story. People blamed her for everything that had happened. Many believed she would never be accepted as a part of the royal family. But slowly, things started to change. Over the years, Charles and Camilla carefully reintroduced their relationship to the public. They made small public appearances together, showing the world that their love was real. It wasn't easy, but eventually, people began to accept them as a couple. Camilla's transformation into queen. In 2005, after decades of controversy, Charles and Camilla finally got married. Their wedding was simple and private, not the grand royal affair that many expected. But it was an important moment. It showed that their love had survived everything. Over the years, Camilla worked hard to win the public's trust. She dedicated herself to charity work, supporting causes like domestic violence awareness and children's literacy. Slowly, public opinion started to shift. Then, in 2022, Queen Elizabeth II passed away. With her death, Charles became king, and Camilla became queen consort. It was a moment that many thought would never happen. From being the most hated woman in Britain to becoming queen, Camilla's journey was truly extraordinary. Today, Queen Camilla stands beside King Charles, fulfilling her royal duties with grace. Her story proves that life is unpredictable. Love, no matter how complicated, has a way of surviving against all odds. And that's the story of how Queen Camilla's first marriage came to an unexpected end. A moment that changed everything, not just for her, but for the entire royal family. What do you think about Andrew Parker Bowles' decision?
We have reports from Paris that Diana, Princess of Wales, has been killed in a car accident, and that her partner, Dodi Fayed, has also been killed.
For years, people have wondered if there was more to Princess Diana's death than what we were told. Many believe it wasn't just a simple accident, that powerful people might have been involved, and that the truth was hidden from the world. Now, Joe Rogan has revealed something shocking. A list of names connected to Diana's tragic death. These are people who were never supposed to be linked to what happened that night. Who are they? Why was their involvement kept secret? And if this list is real, what does it mean for everything we thought we knew? The truth may finally be coming to light, and it's more chilling than anyone could have imagined. What did Joe Rogan actually say? All right, let's start with the moment that caught everyone off guard. Joe Rogan, sitting there on his podcast, just casually dropped a bomb. In his usual laid-back way, he leaned back, laughed a little, and then said something that made everyone stop scrolling. There's a list out there, man. Names of politicians, intelligence officers, even royalty, all with ties to that car crash. He wasn't joking. You know how sometimes Joe goes off on those wild tangents? This didn't feel like that. He sounded serious, curious, but serious. You could hear it in his voice. He wasn't trying to be dramatic, but it was clear he had heard something big. Now, if you've followed Joe for a while, you know he talks about conspiracies a lot. Aliens, secret societies, cover-ups, you name it. But this felt different. There was something in his tone, like even he wasn't sure if he should be talking about it. He didn't sound like he was just repeating a random internet rumor. It sounded like someone told him, someone on the inside. And guess what? He wasn't alone in this conversation. Sitting across from him was one of his more serious guests. Not a comedian, not a random dude with a theory, but a guy with real connections, a former intelligence officer. You could tell this man had seen some stuff. He chose his words carefully, like he knew too much, but was still holding back. Joe asked him, half joking but half dead serious, "Are you telling me there's actually a list? Like, an actual list of people involved in Princess Diana's death?" The guest paused, smiled just a little, and then said, "Let's just say, if you dig deep enough, you'll find names you never expected." And man, that right there gave me chills. Because it wasn't a yes, and it wasn't a no. It was like a warning. A hint that there's way more to this story than we've ever been told. Now, Joe didn't read the list or give out names right there, but he did say that what he heard was shocking. Politicians, intelligence agents, royalty, people with power, real power. And Joe kept circling back to the same thing. Why would all these powerful people need Diana out of the way? And that's where the rabbit hole really starts. Who's allegedly on the list? Now let's talk about the most important part, the list itself. If this list really exists, who the hell is on it? Because this isn't just some random hit job. This was the death of one of the most loved women in the world. MI6 operatives. First up, the MI6. If you don't know, MI6 is basically Britain's version of the CIA. These are the people who operate in the shadows. According to the theory, they were watching Diana. Hard. She was getting way too popular. Her humanitarian work, her relationship with Dodi, her influence, it made her a threat to the people in power. Some say that MI6 had been following Diana for months. There are even claims they used a light flash tactic that night. Basically, they blind the driver with a super bright light, causing him to crash. It sounds crazy, right? But the scary part is, this is an actual tactic used in espionage. Royal family connections. Now here's where things get even darker. The royal family. Yup, you heard that right. There have always been rumors that certain members of the royal family were not exactly fans of Diana. Prince Philip in particular gets mentioned a lot. Some people say he openly disliked her. And you know what's crazy? Diana herself once said, "They're going to kill me." She told her lawyer, her butler, even wrote it down in a letter. She was scared. She felt like someone was out to get her. And the theory is, maybe she was right. British politicians. Next, we've got some big names from British politics. According to the story Joe heard, some powerful politicians were terrified of Diana's growing influence. She was speaking out on issues most people were too scared to touch. Landmines, poverty, AIDS. She was shining a light on stuff people wanted to keep hidden. And then there's the business side. Diana was going after the landmine industry. And that, my friends, is big money. You think the politicians funding those arms deals wanted her ruining their business? Not a chance. French intelligence and police. Then, there's the French side of things. After all, the crash happened. In Paris, right? So where were the French police that night? Why were so many cameras in that tunnel turned off? Doesn't that seem odd? Some people think the French intelligence was in on it too. Maybe they didn't plan it, but they sure didn't stop it. Maybe they helped cover it up. There's just too much that doesn't add up. Too many missing pieces. Media moguls and paparazzi. And of course, we can't forget the paparazzi. Those guys were all over Diana every single day. But the question is, who was paying them? Who really financed that crazy chase through the streets of Paris? It wasn't just about getting a photo. Some say the media was being used as a weapon. Keep the pressure on. Keep chasing. And eventually, something's gonna give. Dodi Fayed's enemies. Finally, we've got Dodi Fayed's side. His father, Mohammed Al Fayed, has been screaming for years that this was a plot. A racist plot. He believed the British establishment didn't want Diana marrying a Muslim. Think about it. Diana, the mother of the future king, having a baby with Dodi Fayed, that would change everything. It would shake the royal family to its core, and some people would do anything to stop that. Evidence supporting the conspiracies. Now you're probably wondering, what's the proof? What makes people believe all this? Well, buckle up, because once you hear the facts, it's hard to unsee them. First off, Diana wasn't wearing a seatbelt. That's what they tell us. But here's the thing. Diana always wore her seatbelt. Everyone close to her said that. So why wasn't she wearing it that night? Did someone tamper with the car? Or was there another reason? Then there's the CCTV footage. Guess what? Almost every camera in that tunnel was switched off or not working that night. Out of all nights, it just happens to be the night Diana dies. What are the odds of that? And then there's that mysterious white Fiat Uno. Witnesses saw it speeding away from the crash, but it was never found. Never. It just vanished. Some say it was part of the plan, a way to force the car off the road, but no one ever tracked it down. Let's talk about Henri Paul, the driver. The official report says he was drunk, but later tests showed his blood alcohol level didn't match the way he was acting just minutes before the crash. He wasn't stumbling, he wasn't slurring. Something doesn't add up there. And here's the part that still gives me goosebumps. Diana knew something was going to happen. She literally wrote it down. They are planning an accident in my car. She felt it. She knew. And no one listened. There have been books, documentaries, even official investigations like Operation Paget. They've looked at all of this, but somehow, the official story never really changes. They keep saying it was just a tragic accident. But was it? And that brings us back to Joe Rogan. Where did he hear this? Did someone pass him this information? A whistleblower maybe? Or is he just connecting the dots like so many of us do? Either way, when someone like Joe Rogan talks about it, people listen. And honestly, after hearing all this, it's hard not to wonder, what if that list really does exist? What if it's sitting in a safe somewhere, with names that would shock the world? Why would these people want Diana gone? So, the big question, why? Why would all these powerful people want Diana dead? The answer is simple. Power. Control. Diana was loved by millions. She was bigger than the royal family itself. Everywhere she went, cameras followed. She had a voice, and she used it. And not everyone liked what she had to say. Her campaign against landmines threatened billion-dollar deals. Her relationship with Dodi threatened royal traditions. And let's be honest, she was unpredictable. They couldn't control her. And people in power, they hate what they can't control. And maybe, just maybe, someone decided it was easier to make sure she was gone. Now, I don't know about you, but hearing all this makes me wonder, what else don't we know? If this list is real, how long before it finally comes out? How many secrets are still buried with Diana? And here's the scariest part. If they could do this to her, the most famous woman on the planet, what else are they hiding from us? The information in this list raises more questions than answers. If these names were kept in the dark for so long, what else has been hidden? The truth about Diana's death might be far more complicated than we ever knew. There's still so much to uncover, and this story is far from over. If you found this video interesting, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what comes next. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Do you think the truth will ever fully come out? Stay tuned for more updates, and thanks for watching.